Hey spooky friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Kelly and I like to sit down and talk about spooky shit. All the way to haunted locations, urban legends, unsolved mysteries, true crime, and yes, I do love reading thriller books, so on occasion I will be doing some book reviews and book hauls too. So if that is something that interests you, then of course hit the subscribe button and let's be besties. But today's story is an unsolved mystery, and whenever I was Googling a story to do, I came across this one and I've never heard of it. And I don't know if you guys have either, but it kind of, when I was reading the story, I'm like, this is really messed up of like what happened to these two people. And I'm just like shook, I guess. It's just really, it's a really scary world. And it just blows my mind how this is still unsolved. But whenever you look at the details, and I'm like, the detectives, the cops, local law enforcement, they had nowhere to go with this. So it's just, stories like this really make me sad because the victims deserve closure as far as like their killer or killers to kind of get captured, brought to justice, and their families deserve closure as well. So it's just very sad. So let's just jump into it. And unfortunately, our story begins one late August night in the year 1990. That was the year I was born. Whoop, whoop. But so we have this couple, and the girlfriend, Cheryl Henry, she was 22 years old, and people describe her as having a very bubbly personality. I guess it is said that she was not really, she made a lot of friends no matter where she went, and her boyfriend, Andy Atkinson, who was 21 years old at the time, he was described as having a Hollywood smile and having really piercing green eyes. And I did Google him, and his smile was absolutely like he belonged on like a movie poster. So Cheryl, on this night, Cheryl and her sister met up with Andy at a nightclub called the Bayo Mamas, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Now, me and words were not the best of friends, so I'm going to mispronounce a lot of words, so just go with it. And unfortunately, at the club, this would be the last time that Andy and Cheryl were seen last alive. Now, after a night of going out and having fun, and I'm sure maybe some drinking was involved, I'm not too sure, it didn't really say, but they were out having a good time, right? And then so after the club, Andy and Cheryl went to this remote location that was called the Lover's Lane in West Houston. Now, of course, as you can tell, this was a place a lot of couples went to like make out, do some business, you know, so that's what they went to that night. And unfortunately, it didn't end well for them. The next morning, when Cheryl's mom, Barbara, woke up and noticed that Cheryl was not home, she automatically knew something was wrong. So she called the local police department to report her daughter missing. Now, I don't know what time, but it was sometime in the morning time where a security guard found Andy's car with Cheryl's purse and shoes still inside of the vehicle. After the car was discovered by the security guard, they soon found the bodies of Andy and Cheryl, unfortunately. Now, he was found tied to a tree with his neck cut so badly, he was nearly decapitated. And then soon after they discovered Andy's body, they soon discovered Cheryl, and her neck was also slashed, but it wasn't as slashly cut as Andy's was. Now, her body was found on the ground and it was covered with pieces of wood, which is very odd. It's almost like the killer or killers wanted to like hide her body but expose Andy's. So a bit weird. And while looking at the crime scene, it was pretty much safe to say that Andy was forced to watch Cheryl, his girlfriend, get murdered. Now, if that doesn't like make your skin crawl or give you goosebumps, I really do not know what would, because that, like, you're already gonna die, but like to see that as like one of your last things to see before you die would just, that would just fuck me up, to put it bluntly. But police also found golf clubs and 3 golf balls in a line, in like a row pointing to Cheryl's body, and a $20 bill laying nearby. So also very peculiar. The police are trying to like figure out why would you do that? Like, what was the motive? Was it personal? Was it just like trying to like fuck with the heads of law enforcement? I mean, it was just bizarre in my opinion. I read that and I was like, what the is this person thinking? But whenever you kill someone for no damn reason, it kind of is, you have to kind of like not really like try to explain why they're doing something, because killing someone for no damn reason is just bizarre for, just is bizarre in itself. But Bill Beck, he was the detective on the case. Now, he was known to be a pretty decent detective. And now when I say decent, he was really known to like solve crimes, I should say. I'm trying to get the words out. He was known to solve the crimes. And unfortunately, this case really stuck with him for decades to come. And I know that whenever you're going to be a police officer or a detective, more so, you're trained not to be so attached to the victims, I guess, and the people involved. But for him, this was the case that he just cannot get over. Like, it bothered him so much that he couldn't really solve this case. And unfortunately, it still remains unsolved, obviously. But of course, Billy did have some, I guess, theories to who this killer or possibly killers could be. Now, he had said that it was possibly personal. Now, this case seemed to be, I guess, too much for the local police department in Houston to handle, because the FBI came in, and of course they have FBI profilers to kind of come in and kind of really look at the case and to see what potential person or persons could do this. It's kind of who they're looking for as the killer to be. Now, they had several ideas of who this person could potentially be. And one of them was the killer could have been somewhere around Andy and Cheryl's age. Another thing was, this person is above average intelligence, but with just a low achiever. So like at school, they weren't really able to achieve a lot. And also, police may have interviewed the suspect at least one time within the investigation. So unfortunately, this kind of just really didn't really go anywhere until potentially of 2001. Someone sent a letter to the Houston Police Department saying that they're going to be promising information for exchange of $100,000. So was it actually written by the killer, or was it just a hoax? Unfortunately, no one knows because the lead never went anywhere, unfortunately. But luckily, police would get a first real break in the case, but it wouldn't be until actually like years and years later. But first, let's back up 2 months before Cheryl and Andy got murdered, okay? So there was this exotic dancer. Her name wasn't anywhere in the information that I was looking at, which rightfully so. She kind of doesn't want to be out there, which I respect. So I kind of really didn't dig too deep into it. So I'm just gonna call her the dancer, okay? So she was raped. I know you can't say rape here, but she was raped, okay? After she left her job at a nightclub and went to her boyfriend's house after she got off of her job. And then soon after she went to her boyfriend's house, a man knocked on the door and said he was looking for her boyfriend, who I guess owed the guy that was knocking on the door money. And then whenever I guess like she's like, no, sorry, like he's not home. I guess he forced his way into the house. Described the man as late 20s, early 30s. And he was about 6 feet tall, and he was about 180 pounds with black hair and with an olive complexion. And then I guess she was able to kind of tell by his complexion because he had like a black fishnet over his head. So she was still able to kind of like see a little bit of his face, but not all the way clearly. And then she said that he wore black clothes and black gloves. So obviously he didn't want to, have his fingerprints all over the house. And also too, she noticed that he had a military like vibe to him. So that's the only thing that she could kind of really say about him, and nothing else, unfortunately. Now, DNA was relatively new and expensive. Now, it took about 17 years before investigators would run the DNA found on the dancer and get a match to the crime scene on Lover's Lane 2. Now, sometime they located the dancer, and she's still in Houston, and they interviewed her again, and they found a shocking link. If you're talking about a plot twist, this was it, okay? The dancer had once worked for Andy's dad. Crazy, right? But police didn't know if the killer might have also worked for Andy's dad too, or it was just a crazy coincidence, because it's kind of like it blew my mind. And also too, side note, I know I might be getting ahead of myself, it's like, why didn't the police department kind of like dive more into that? Like, just interview all the workers that Andy's dad had hired. But what do I know? Nothing. I know nothing. Okay, great. Now, the dancer woman, she had helped police create a sketch of her attacker, of what he looked like in the 90s. And also too, the police department took that sketch of the attacker and aged him about 20 years or so of what he could potentially look like nowadays. Smart, right? Okay, great. And But unfortunately, despite the DNA match in the sketches, the identity remains a mystery because he wasn't in the national DNA database. So obviously, like, he never did a crime. This was his first crime ever, and he did not get caught. I mean, this case is just like, what? Like, not caught? And it pisses me off. Like, oh my God. And I don't know. So, fortunately, our story ends there because it's unsolved. And again, as I said in the beginning, it's just really sad because it's just the brutal, like, nature of the whole crime. It's just crazy how, like, you're reading something and you're like, how did this, there was so much potential for something, for them to really get, like, at least one prime suspect. But they didn't, though. But, like, I didn't see anywhere in, like, the information I was reading that they did interview anyone from Andy's dad's company. That, you know, it's just, but it's like, I want to have faith, but, like, I really don't. But it's just really sinister of what the motive was, besides, I mean, being mentally ill, because you have to be somewhat fucked up to want to just kill someone. And also, too, like, I don't understand why the investigators couldn't go back to the people that they did interview initially and, like, get their DNA and compare it to the DNA that they found of, like, the dancer and the DNA that they found at the Lover's Lane murder crime scene. Like, I don't understand how they didn't do that. And just, like, it makes me want to go to Texas and be like, guys, listen, I have an idea. Are you guys with me? No? Cool. Great. It's just, I don't know. My thing is, I feel like, of course, as I said, Andy and Cheryl's family, they deserve closure. Also, too, who also deserves closure is the dancer. Like, I would want to have my attacker brought to justice, one way or the other. And also, too, like, I just feel like these murders were personal. Like, I wonder if they knew Cheryl and Andy. Like, because the way that they were killed, like, it was almost like revenge. Maybe towards, like, Andy. And maybe Cheryl was just, like, an innocent victim in all of this. Like, because for you to, like, want to have someone kill the other person, like, that kind of thing just isn't really, I really haven't heard of it in these, like, true crimes, even in, like, unsolved crimes too. So the killer wanted to punish Andy some way, and, you know, somehow in some way. And I think, like, that's pretty fucked up. Unless you are just so fucked up in the head that, like, you're like, it gets you off. Like, Jesus, like, can we pick another fucking hobby that gets you off besides fucking killing people? I don't get it. This one kind of sat with me for a while, to be honest with you, because I just feel like there's a lot of things that could have been done, and from what I read, it wasn't. I'm curious to know what you guys think. If you guys think it's personal, or if it just happened to be a wrong time, wrong place. I mean, if maybe the killer was waiting for someone, another couple to kind of come by, and, you know, unfortunately it was Andy and Cheryl. I don't know. I am curious to know what your guys' thoughts are about this case, but I want to say thank you guys so much for watching my video. Have a great day. Happy Friday. And please stay safe out there, okay?